Hello there, I'm Sam, and from this little room, I'm trying to work towards making a living as a comic artist, but I also enjoy making videos and just talking honestly about stuff. In my last video, I just reflected on time spent alone and solitude, but this video ended up getting a lot more views than I'm used to, currently over 30,000. I got a lot of great comments, but with it came some not so nice ones, and it got me thinking about dealing with criticism in life and when we share our art, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about it and show you some of the comic I'm working on too. So yes, my previous video got quite a lot of views. Yeah, obviously in some ways that's really great, and I'm really grateful for the people that have subscribed, and I loved reading the comments that people left. A lot of them were people who were really comforted by the video or who just related. I feel like I kind of summoned a lot of introverts with that video, which is nice because I feel like, you know, my channel will be quite good for introverted people. You know, it's kind of a similar kind of lifestyle, and it's nice to, I don't know, I hope these videos are kind of like quite relaxed and quite chilled out to watch, I don't know. But also with being seen a lot more, it did bring up some kind of fears around that, and you know, I did get some negative comments. I mean, there was nothing like really horrible. I know that it can be a lot worse, and that's partly why it was all a bit scary. The trouble with the internet is like you can't control like when something is going to get a lot of views and when it's not. You can't stop people really from commenting whatever they want, and yeah, it's just kind of, sometimes it just feels like it's a bit out of your control and it feels a bit overwhelming. You know, I was here making little videos for like my 800 subscribers and hoping for like 1,000 views, a couple of thousand views, and then suddenly there's like a lot of people watching and scrutinising your every word and making a lot of assumptions about you and saying not very nice things and mocking you for even making the video. And some of them clearly didn't even watch the video, which is fair enough. If you've already decided that you don't like me, then you're not going to watch me talk for 20 minutes or whatever. But it kind of brought up a lot of things that I think artists have to deal with a lot, and human people have to deal with a lot in life anyway. There's so many ways that you might be criticised for who you are, for the way you express yourself, and in the art world as well, the stuff you create, how you go about creating it, the lifestyle you lead. There's all kinds of things where people will criticise and people will downright hate you for it as well. Criticism isn't always a bad thing, because I think I'm someone who, I try to be very willing to take constructive criticism and to take, you know, opposing views that are put forward in a respectful way. I try to see things from different angles, and I'd like to think I'm always open to learning more and being more respectful, being more educated on things. But you know, when people are making comments that are just coming from a place of pure, you know, just not being very nice and just trying to, you know, when people are just writing things that are just plain mean, and I don't know what these people sort of get out of it, but all I can think is that there's a lot of unhappy people in the world. I've kind of been processing it over the past few days, and it's not like I haven't like dealt with it before. Like, I've been sharing my art online for 5 years, and I've had hate for stuff before and criticism for stuff, and I've had in real life criticism as well. I've had people that I know, family members, make offhand comments, mock what I'm doing. So it's not like it's just, you know, people on the internet or that I've never experienced it before. I think I've just not had it on this scale for quite a while, and just generally the experience of so many people watching a video of me talking and is just a bit, it's kind of like a spotlight being shone on you, and you're like, oh no. I mean, I panic when, say, like a conversation turns to me, you know, like if you're sat with a few people and it kind of goes quiet and suddenly everyone's listening to what you're saying and you're like, oh no. Like, that panics me, let alone like the amount of people that were watching that video. So yeah, and I've had like 3 times that amount of views on TikTok, but for some reason it just doesn't feel quite as scary because I guess I'm not talking about as much, I'm not on screen for as long. I don't know what it is. But it actually reminded me of how, like, with my art, like I remember when I made this zine, which was like a sketchbook scene about dogs, and I just wrote a little bit about how when I was a kid I wanted a dog, but I still don't have a dog. because of various reasons that it's not really feasible for me at the moment. And even in that, that's like my most viewed video on TikTok. And even in that, people in the comments were making out like I was some kind of horrible person who was leaving a dog to rot in a shelter somewhere because I didn't just like ignore all those legitimate reasons and just go and get a dog and make it work, and making me out to be this horrible person for that. So to me, that was like a lesson for me where I was like, it just shows that you can make the most wholesome like little thing that you think this can't possibly annoy someone or like spark anger in someone, and it does. Like, you can't avoid it, you really can't. So you might as well not try, to be honest. And that's kind of the point of this little video, is just to say that yes, I have had some moments over the past few days where I have wanted to hide away, and maybe the amount of attention is just a lot for me. And I think it's, you know, understandable to just have a bit of fear around that. And I'm not saying that I'm going to have videos that are going to do that well again. That might be me now for like 7 years. I'll have more manageable views now, I don't know. Yeah, it was just a bit overwhelming, and it's okay to find it that way. Like, I've known many people, unfortunately, who have had bad experiences with people online. I follow, like, there's a YouTuber I really like that recently has been getting a lot of hate, and when I thought about it, there's so many people that I admire, from, you know, YouTubers to people who are a bit more well-known, you know, actors that I really love, that other people make it their mission in life to talk about how terrible they are at acting. You know, I'm sure we can all think of people that we admire that other people really dislike and hate, and not usually for any kind of big reason, but just because they think their work is boring or not interesting, or we don't want to hear about this, and whatever. I don't know, do you know what I mean? And I wouldn't want them to stop creating because of this negativity that they receive. But it can be hard as somebody putting yourself out there, either as a person or in a lot of creative fields, to take that risk that you probably will receive a lot of criticism and some downright not very nice comments and hate. And I think some of that is just part of doing it. You can't avoid criticism. Nobody will like you all the time. And I think that's life. Like, I don't like everybody. It doesn't mean that I actively hate them or something, but you can't get along with everybody. You can't be a fan of everything. But like, at the same time, I don't expect people to always get on with me or like me. But I do think we shouldn't have to accept necessarily, like, well, no, I don't think we should have to accept like downright hatred and, you know, nastiness and people commenting on things that really they have no business to be saying to another person. But it is unfortunately a part of the internet that is very hard to control and to stop. So yeah, it's a difficult thing to navigate sometimes. I know there's people out there, I've spoken to quite a few people who, you know, they're afraid to make art and make work, and to put themselves out there. The idea that, you know, someone they know will see it and ridicule them, or strangers will just think it's rubbish and they'll put their heart and soul into it, and somebody will just discard it and say that it's not worth their time. That can really, really put people off from pursuing creative things and from making themselves vulnerable like that, because it is a vulnerability. You are making yourself vulnerable to people, and it can be hard to like build up the resilience to it. But I think with every time that something like this happens, and you do like hopefully get more resilience to it, and you remind yourself why you're doing it. That's what I've been doing, because like I make art to try and comfort people. Hopefully I want to try and relate to people and make them feel less alone. And it's like with my serial comic that I'm making, it's not necessarily saying anything groundbreaking, and it's certainly not the most skillful comic. Like, sometimes when I'm making it, I'm like, one day this is going to be printed and maybe somebody will think, how embarrassing is this? Like, the typesetting's all over the place, the characters aren't consistent, it's badly drawn, the colours aren't right, it's not an interesting story, this isn't anything that interests me one bit, and they'll just chuck it in a bin or something. You know, I think these things, and it does maybe make you feel disheartened, but I know that in reality I want to keep doing it and I want to share it, and I hope that it will comfort people. I don't think, like this comic for example, says anything particularly groundbreaking. You know, it does commentate on some real issues like the importance of rest and things like that, and work culture, but I don't think it's groundbreaking. I just hope that maybe it would comfort people and give them a bit of an escape and have that kind of cosy nostalgia to it, and give people something to just enjoy in the way that I enjoy a lot of media, and it gives me comfort and it makes me feel like I'm not alone and I can relate to it, and just laugh and enjoy it. That's all I'm trying to do really, is just put one small bit of good into the world. That's all I know how to do, to be honest. This is what I've got to offer, and it isn't of value to some people, it really isn't, and that's alright. Like, we can't all find value in the same things. I guess what I'm saying is, when you're criticised, when you face, you know, negative reactions to things, even just everyday things, you wear an outfit that you're really happy with and somebody gives you that look, or, you know, they say something, or you're just made to feel self-conscious, you might think, I'm going to go home and never wear this again, but that would be a real shame, you know? And that's the same with a lot of things. I'm trying to tell myself, and I hope other people feel this way, that we shouldn't have to hide ourselves away because some people may, you know, criticise and be horrible and be not very nice. And equally, when it comes to artwork, sometimes, you know, we will have room to get better, and people may, you know, say things, even in a constructive way, that we find hard to take, that we find hard to deal with. I remember when I was at university and I was actually studying music at the time, which is a long story, but I met a few of my classmates, I remember, in the bathroom once. They were doing a different course, like a different subject at the time to me, and they just had this critique, what do they call it, on their like music for film music. And like 6 of these classmates were crying, and they'd just sort of been torn apart on their work that they'd done. And some of them were feeling so sad about this, so desolate and just gutted really by all the criticism. And probably nothing like really nasty was said in this critique, but like it was just really hard to hear that thing that they care about a lot be torn down in that way. So criticism of all kinds can be really hard to take, and to hear, especially when as artists we put so much into our work, and creative people in general. There's so much of ourselves that has to go into the work, and then it's so easy for other people to just tear it down as if it means nothing. And unfortunately that's sometimes the life of an artist, I think, is you do put your vulnerability on the line, and it's difficult, but equally we've got to be kind to ourselves and appreciate that that can be difficult sometimes. And yeah, I think it's like with this, putting yourself on here, talking, being seen, it's quite scary. And sometimes I'm asking myself, is this the right way to go about it? But I quite like making videos, and I like talking honestly about things, and I like making little vlogs and videos, and yeah, so I guess I want to keep doing it. So I'm going to keep trying. Yeah. I don't think we should have to accept these people who seem to make it their mission in life to make other people feel bad. But unfortunately I think it's part of a world that is very tough and a lot of very, very unhappy and bitter people. So I just hope that I can keep putting some good into the world, possibly, I hope. And thank you for all the people that drowned out the negativity and said really lovely things, and really interesting things as well, that got me thinking a lot about a lot of things, and book recommendations and all sorts. It was lovely to hear. And if I haven't responded, or you've sent me an email or something, just bear in mind it was to do with the overwhelm and the slight fear that it invoked. So it's nothing personal, and I really did appreciate all the nice things people said. I hope that if you're someone that's been thinking about putting yourself out there more as a person, as a creative, in whatever way. Like, I'm not going to say you won't get criticism and nobody will say bad things. I don't think that's comforting in the way people think it is. I mean, often psychologically this has helped me a lot in general, to stop saying it will never happen, but to say it might happen, and sometimes it probably will. When it comes to criticism, you will get criticism on things that you put out there, but if you can just like take the constructive criticism and ignore the rest and try to remember that there's people rooting for you, and that you do have value and your work has value, and you as a human being, you know, you have a lot of value, then maybe you can keep going and that's great, and it won't be one more fantastic, amazing person, artist hidden away because of the horrible people in the world. And yeah, just to talk about my comic briefly, I've done 3 pages of the next section. I'm not sure how well it's going to show up. That's the wrong way. So yeah, like inked those pages and I've got 3 left. Yeah, it's been, every time I do a next section, like, I'm like, this is really difficult for this reason, this is really difficult for this reason. This one's been quite tough because Tin isn't in it. Tin is the robot character, and he's got quite a standard, like, look about him. This is Tin. And so he adds like a simplicity to some of the drawing process. And whereas in this section, I've had to draw 3 human people through a lot of the panels, and it has 2 new characters as well. So I had to design those. So it's been quite difficult in a drawing people sense, and there's been a lot of dialogue as well, and fitting that on has been difficult. I'm just going to try and power through with the last 3 pages, because it's a bit of a longer section, this one as well. I'm heading towards like the halfway point of the first issue of the comic, and it will be like a complete story because, I don't know, I just really wanted to release something that did have a complete narrative. I think overall it would have taken me a bit over a year just to do the first issue, but I am really new to it. I thought, why not just make a comic with like next to no experience? You know, life's short, the world is bad, and why not? Why not? So here we are. Thank you for watching this video, and I'm really grateful for all the new subscribers. I know that a lot of the people who've subscribed are the very nice people who left comments, and yeah, I guess we're in a sort of Introverts Unite club here, and that's lovely. So yeah, thank you, and I hope this might have been a bit helpful to you or interesting. You never know. Okay, goodbye. Where I'm going. Bramwell, help me, I don't know what I'm doing. This bear's called Bramwell. I named him after the miserable Bronte brother. For reasons that I won't explain.